Hi.
Hi, Sandris.
Hi, Bruno. So today we will speak about your piece, Osmosonic Study number 5. Can you give a little bit of context? Who commissioned this piece, for whom you've written?
Yes, it was a commission from a very interesting festival here in Argentina, in the south, in the Patagonia. An amazing festival. The director, who's a friend of mine, Jose Manuel Serrano, invited. Well, he invites really great musicians from all over the world. I don't know, Emanuele Torquati, Francesco Dillon, ensembles like Quartet Maurice, and he invited a duo of clarinetists from Vienna or Salzburg, and he wanted a piece. He commissioned me a piece for 2 clarinets and a prepared piano. And the piano, the preparation of the piano was with patafix, which is a substance that is used to mute the strings. So the sound would be very diffuse and very soft. So that was the commission, and then I did another version for a festival, a temporánea, later, the following year.
And
I suggested, because sorry.
So sorry to interrupt you. Maybe you can finish your thoughts and then
I suggested because I work in the psychology of multisensory perception and the relation between smells and sounds, to include smells into the. And he agreed. He was delighted to have the smells also.
Oh, good, very good. And what was the main concept of the piece?
Well, as in every artwork, there are several concepts. One comes from my work as a researcher. I work in the what is called the crossmodal correspondences between senses. So it's what are the crossmodal correspondences? There are connections that most of people share between stimuli in different sensory modalities. For instance, in sound and smell, or sight and taste. And I did research on music and taste, and music and smell in special. And during this research, one of our studies was with people of Oxford University. We studied how the music would impact in the taste of a glass of wine. So you drank the wine, you listen to different pieces of music, and we use a temporal method where people answer what was the dominant flavor at each second, and wanted to know if there was a relationship between the music and the taste. But the taste, is mostly smell. So taste is mostly retronasal smell. So in fact, it's a study on smell also. And it showed really a strong influence of music. So it's like the score were guiding the answers. Were very different from the same wine for different pieces of music. So I went interested in the dynamics of smell, how smell changes over time, and the relation between music and smell. In the dynamics, the temporal behavior. So the piece on one side has this concept of using smells and music, and the smells change over time. So how do you do that? You give to the public 2 olfactory strips, and the strips, the smells for the strips were designed by my wife, María Zegna, who is a wonderful choreographer, but also creator of olfactory emotional atmospheres for her works, for my installations. And he created 2 very contrasting smells. So people could alternate smelling one strip with one smell and the other strip with the other smell, and they could alternate, and I gave them instructions in the first version to alternate at different speeds, also giving a temporal dynamic to the smell perception when the music, given some places in the music, the pianist indicated where the smells were, the strips were to be smelled. And the second, and coming to the second concept, I don't want to forget the names of the performers. The performers were this duo, Petra Stumpf and Peter Heinz Lindholm, and Fernanda González at the piano. And then the second concept is it's a philosophical concept. I read some years ago a wonderful article by two philosophers, Myin and Cooke, and the title was "Is Smelt Trill Possible?" So the subtitle of my piece is Olfactory Trill. They asked, well, if you smell two different odors in quick succession, this is, well, how do you process this sensation, because you are not used to have a rhythm and a quick rhythm to. So they had the idea, well, it's related to a hypothesis in philosophy of perception. What happens if you give the smell the dynamics, the temporal dynamics of music? And conversely, what happens if you give music the temporal and spatial behavior of smells? And well, the piece uses some inspiration from that. For instance, there are long negative spaces without sound. So it's like you perceive smell when you inhale, but you don't perceive a little when exhaling. Mm-hmm. So the piece has these negative spaces of no sound, but you can concentrate then your attention on smell, then on sound, and have like an oscillation of attention between the two kind of senses, the two senses. And the third concept or source of inspiration is also philosophical from the Chinese philosophy of blandness or insipid, the insipid, which is exposed marvelously by the French philosopher François Jullien in a book called I forgot the English term, no? Elogio del insípido, like the in praise of blandness. No? And the idea is that if you have very soft, or almost imperceptible sounds, if the sounds vanish into silence, then because if there is a sound, you exclude the rest of the universe of sounds. But if you are in that limit of almost no sound, then this perception opens to all other perceptions, no? Welcomes all other perceptions, all other destinations. And so I thought, well, what about very soft sounds and very soft smells, soft in intensity, no? Combining this.
And how you choose the title of the piece, Osmosonic Study number 5? Why is that?
It's a combination of osmo, which is related to smell in Greek, and sonic for sound. Similarly, if we have a piece, I have a piece from taste and sound, is gastrosonic, because that's the idea.
Really interesting. And what was the process of composing? First of all, how long it took, and what was the process of what kind of stages you go through?
Well, he commissioned me the piece on 6 months before the concert, and yes, I was interested in these three concepts, and then I said, well, I have to combine this, and then it was rather quick because I did it mostly during a trip.
Yes.
1 month before the performance, but I used I used very complex and vapor-like textures that as an idea that came from the beginning, like a sound that goes to air and to sound constantly oscillating between sound and air, and also flickering between high frequencies, low frequencies. Because, well, the smells, I talked with, of course, with my wife for the design of the smells, and that took a while too. And he came with two smells with citric notes, but powdery,
Yes.
mainly powdery. And they have names, these perfumes. And so one is Lit Your Inner Sun, and the other is Red Fox.
Yes.
And so Lit Your Inner Sun is more citric, and Red Fox has flowery notes. So I use also my study on crossmodal correspondences to compose, to use sounds related to citric, which are high in frequency, and to floral, who are more complex. And yes, that's so I mixed the concepts. I did it. I didn't work with the musicians because they were in Austria, but I worked with them when they came to Patagonia.
Yes, got it. And so you have at the beginning you have a concept, right? And then you create music, and then you integrated this sense, or how it was?
No, I was constantly thinking of the smell, no, because these negative spaces, the characteristics of the sounds, all was based on this inspiration from the smell, temporal dynamics.
Yes.
So I always had in view that. Yes, so just the idea of how to deliver the smells for because I previously used technology, and for this festival I didn't have technology, so I came with the idea of using olfactory strips.
Yes.
And giving the people and giving.
And how it worked how it worked for audience? Did you say that you need one strip, or you need to change, or there were some video instructions?
I did some verbal instructions.
Verbal.
And verbal instructions. I remember that in that first version I used strips in the second version, but in that version I used like flags, some small flags, and one half had one smell, and the other half had the other smell, and they have to move like this, the flags at different speeds. And I explained verbally before the performance that when the pianist raised one finger, they had to smell, alternate slowly. Then two more quickly, and three was the trill. So there's also a sound from flags, was a sonic component there, and to concentrate, to oscillate their attention between the sounds and smells, have this kind of diffuse attention.
You said so, right? You combine the scent with the sound, and what kind of listening, or what kind of sensorial experience you would like to create for audience? Have you thought it before? What kind of experience you would like to put into audience?
Well, from I have a theoretical expectation of experiencing a relation between, well, for one hand, some influence of the smell on the music perception. So if you're changing the smell and listening to music that sounds more or less similar, how that would change your emotion, your perception. And then experiencing the music also had many trills and quick alternation of flickering harmonics, etc. To experience these temporal dynamics, quick temporal dynamics, unusual in smell, and what happens when you experience the smells together to the. So it's very many things. But in my experience, it's people either concentrated on the sounds or on the smells. It was too much, maybe too short a piece and too much information. So next time I did the second version, I didn't ask people mostly on the sounds because they were composers, musicians, and they focused. The smell thing I didn't understand. I like the music, but only a Japanese guy, a composer, told me that he felt like an integration of sensation. And then the second version, I didn't regulate the dynamics. I only said people that alternate at different speeds, but freely. And then no one commented anything at that performance. So, well, it's complicated. Maybe I think now that the piece should be longer, give more time if you want to achieve this kind of
effect. And
or maybe it's always a failure, no? I don't know, because it's something unusual, no? You never integrate, you never.
Yes. And can you imagine the same piece, but without using the smells? Would it work?
Yes, I think the piece works because, as I say now, the composers concentrated on the sounds, and I have positive comments. So, and in a way, the things are smells are mapped into the sound in the so in this kind of timbre and dynamics, etc. So I think it works, but for me the interesting is the combination. Yes. No, it loses a lot.
Yes, and you said right that you have intense cooperation with your wife who prepared this scents. And can you give some examples how this cooperation shapes the piece?
Well, once she decides the notes of the smells, that's crucial because I have this idea that certain notes, this is my scientific part, no? The citric notes would be high pitch. So if she uses citrics, I would tend to that. So she decides the smells, and then I choose the sounds. In other cases, has been the opposite. I have the concept, and she designed the smells based on the concept. But, and the work with the performers, also, well, the clarinetists were marvelous. Also in the second version, Griselda Giannini and Constancia Moroni were the clarinetists here in Buenos Aires. I played the piano, a pianist too. And yes, the work with them was also because I used some unusual kinds of whistling into the clarinet, etc. was very crucial to this collaboration too.
And the last question: you have not only this, right? You have created not only this piece, which matches the smells and music. Can you give some free advices, right, from composers who would like to do the same, who would like to use in their compositions scents? What would be your free suggestions?
Sorry, I lost the signal for a moment. Could you
What would
repeat
be your
the...
3 suggestions to composers who would like to do who would like to integrate scents into their composition but have never done before? What would be your three suggestions?
Okay, my suggestion. Well, mine are very personal, so it's difficult. Composer should be free and should follow their, because smell, no, leads to so many. You have in the brain, it's very close, the olfactory nerve, to the amygdala, to the center of emotions in the brain, no? And the memories. So sense can, lead you to so many trajectories of personal remembrances of. I did like a very systematic idea of crossmodal correspondences, but the potential is I was telling before the interview, in a tango performance, I used smells coming from the universe of the tango. So local, no? Buenos Aires, my city. So it's so great the potential of smell, no? In emotions, no? So many emotions that you can evoke.
Okay,
so
thank you.
no precise. Thanks so much, Sandy. Thanks for your interest.